There are several factors out there that are often overlooked, but which have a huge impact on your music. And most musicians simply don't realize how important they are. In this video, I'm going to explain what these areas are, why I think they're so important for musicians to know about, and how you can use them to make much faster progress with your music. Once I started paying attention to these areas, I enjoyed myself much more and I made huge leaps forward. And I've seen many of my students experience similar effects. What I'm going to share with you in this video is, first of all, I think 3 really important understandings about how to think about, well, what are the things that matter? What are the things that don't? And if you understand these 3 things, that will give you a really good lens to look at everything you do and say, okay, how can I use that to sort these into most important and less important? And once we've looked at those kind of fundamental understandings, we're also going to go through some of the areas specific to music, the different topics, the different aspects of it that we could be focusing on, and looking at how, once you think about that, there are actually usually a lot more things that are important than a lot of people think, and some of the things that people think are the be-all and end-all are actually not quite as important as we tend to make them out to be a lot of the time. Let's go over those 3 understandings of what really matters when we're looking to make progress. And the first one of them is essentially the 80-20 principle. So it's this idea that everywhere you look in the world, 80% of the results are coming from 20% of the work that you're doing. So what does this mean for you? It means that if you look at the stuff you're currently practicing, a very small proportion of that is probably the stuff that's giving you most of the results. So if you can focus in on that really effective bit and completely ignore, or maybe just spend less time on the other stuff, you can be working no more, maybe even less than you're doing now, and seeing a lot more results from it. So that's the first bit. The second bit is that actually the easiest way to make progress a lot of the time, possibly even most of the time, is not by adding in more stuff, by learning new things, by, crazy extra bits in there. A lot of it comes down to, can I find the thing that is holding me back and take that away? So a lot of the time it's about removing blockages rather than adding in extra stuff. And the final thing here is that sometimes it's not just, let's find the blockages in my system and take them out. Let's just focusing on the 20% that's giving the best results. Sometimes there are things that you're not doing that you need to do to move forward. So it's also looking around and saying, well, is there something really important that I'm missing that I need to dive deep into and add into my practice? And one theme kind of running through these, and you'll hear me talk about it a lot in other videos, no doubt, is the importance of fundamentals, of the basics, getting those really strong. Because again, that 80-20 thing, that 20% that's giving you 80% of the results, usually those are getting the basics really strong. Removing blockages, that often comes down to checking your fundamentals. Is there something that is not good enough there, that is not right? Because that is going to, if your fundamentals aren't solid, well, good luck with adding on all the more advanced stuff later. And the things that you need to add in, again, they will be fundamentals. Now, the interesting thing is then often not, and we'll look into this in a second, they're often not perhaps the technical fundamentals that you think, but they will be fundamental things. And if you can do all the basics, and that includes understanding how wide the basics go, if you can do all the basics really well, that is most of the battle. So let's look at the areas that musicians need to focus on. And the 2 that immediately come to mind, that certainly come to my mind and I see everyone else going straight towards, are your technical ability on the instrument or your voice if you're singing, technical ability to produce the sounds, and what I call theoretical knowledge. So there's some music theory in there, there's repertoire, what repertoire do you know, all those sorts of things. And that's a great start, but there is so much more. So let's look at, first of all, that theory. It's not just let's learn some theory, but Do you know how best to learn theory? Whether that's repertoire, in which case it's memorization. Can you get stuff into memory? Can you put it into long-term memory? Really important. How do you acquire technical skills? All these things. So going there from perhaps, acquiring how do we learn theoretical knowledge into how do we learn practical knowledge. You could lump them together. I kind of like to split them out a fair bit, because it's how do I go through the reps of a technique that I'm practicing so that it really sticks? How do I get it solid enough that it sticks when I need it most and the pressure's on and I can feel the adrenaline pumping through my body? How do I start getting it to the point where what we call unconscious competence? So I don't even have to think about it when I'm doing it, because that's what's required to play at your best. So that's the first extra bit, really. It's the how do I go about learning? How do I go about learning new information? How do I go about practicing skills? And okay, it's not like anyone can't do that at all, because if we just kind of fumble about and do very inefficient practice, some stuff will come. But you can get there much faster, and you can make the results stick with you much more solidly if you really know and you really understand how to do this. And then we've got some of what I'd call the mental skills. What is your ability to get really focused and sustain that focus through a practice session or through a performance? How good are you at calming yourself in a high pressure situation when the heart rate might get up and the limbs start shaking? Do you have the skills to manage that and or deal with that? Then there's some deeper stuff around there. What about your self-confidence and self-belief? This has a huge impact on how well we perform in any given situation, and also in how quickly we learn things. Because if we believe I've got the ability to learn this, versus sitting there thinking, oh, I'm not sure I'm good enough, I don't think I've got that, that has a big impact on how quickly those new skills come in. And then, of course, how we actually live up to our potential or not when the performance moment comes. Then there's some other mindset issues, and I'm talking about things such as growth mindset, I guess kind of related to the self-belief, but that's whether we believe we can learn, and has a huge impact on people's progress. Grit is in there as well. It's that ability to keep pushing through, to keep going in the face of difficulties. Again, all the other things can be in place, but nothing is ever perfect, smooth sailing in music. It's not like every single thing you try for the first time you get straight away. So if you have no ability to push through the disappointments and setbacks, you're not going to get very far. So growth mindset and grit, hugely important to develop. And then finally, there's motivation. So that's linked to all these other things, but what is it that gets you excited and able to turn up and put in the practice every day? And there are a lot of little things around that, but much bigger things as well, as into, do you really connect with why you're doing music, why you love it? Can you turn that passion into a fire that gets you turning up even when you perhaps wouldn't want to, on a regular basis, putting in the hours, or even just with the effective practice? You can put in just 10 minutes a day can make a huge difference if you've got all these things going for you. The ability to learn, the mindset, the mental skills, the grit, and that motivation to keep showing up. So it's not just about the technical ability. It's not just about developing the theory. There's a whole load of other things that have a huge impact on how well you play as a musician and how quickly you improve as a musician. So I hope you'll agree about the importance of all those wider things, and maybe some of those on the list are unfamiliar to you. Maybe it's got you thinking, wow, there's a whole lot more here than I realized. Or maybe this is all, pretty normal to you. You know this already, but either way, I'd love to know what you think of this. So just leave a comment in the comments below to let me know. Is this helpful? Is this unfamiliar? Is this useful? It's really keen to kind of test out how this lands with you. Now, I definitely recommend checking out my video on why mental toughness training is important for musicians next. And if you'd like the special practice and performance tips that I only share with subscribers, then head on over to playinthezone.com and sign up for the emails. They're free. I've been Morley-Fletcher. Thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.